For today's project, we're going to be designing a calavera, and we're going to be designing and decorating this calavera to honor a loved one or a famous person that we know who has passed away. And we're doing this as a way to celebrate Dia de los Muertos, which is an important day where we honor the people who have passed on and we remember them and honor their memories. So to start off with my design, I'm going to think of the person that I want to create this artwork for. So for me, I'm going to choose my grandma. And you can choose a person that you know, like maybe in your family, or it could also be a special pet that has passed on, or it could also be a celebrity or a famous person that you love the work that they did and they have passed away. So once you've decided who you want to make the artwork in memory of, you're going to write that person's name anywhere on the skull. So you can choose if you want it to be on the forehead like I've done it, but you could also write it anywhere else that you have room. That is up to you. The next step that I'm going to do with my pencil is I am going to create drawings or designs, and you get to choose if these drawings or designs are going to be things that represent the person that you are remembering. Me and my grandma used to take long walks outside, so I'm thinking about drawing flowers to remember that special memory that I have with her. You also can do, if you want to do some decorations that are just kind of shapes and lines and patterns. It also does not have to represent anything specific or be a symbol. It can also be beautiful decorations. I think I'm also going to draw a pencil as the mouth because my grandmother was a writer. And so that kind of reminds me of her hobby and her love of writing. I'm going to add more details with my pencil and then I will show you the next step. Now that I'm finished drawing my designs with pencil, I'm ready to start coloring in my artwork. And you have a lot of choices about what art supplies you use to color in your art. I'm gonna start by using markers, and then I'm gonna finish it with crayons, but you don't have to use the same kinds of art supplies that I'm using. If you have colored pencils at your house, you could use that. If you have pens that are different colors, you could use those. If you just want to use markers or you just want to use crayons, you can do that too. So don't feel like you have to use the exact same kinds of art supplies that I'm using. The most important thing is to just use whatever you have at your house and pick the colors that make you happy. So I'm going to start off on mine by going over my pencil lines. So I might decide to trace over my grandma's name in marker first. If I only had crayons that I was using, I might decide to trace over those pencil lines by pressing down really hard, and that's going to make those lines show up really bright. So the first step for this project is to go through, actually this is the second step that we're on. So the second step for this project is to go through and trace over all of your pencil lines with whatever kinds of art supplies you have at your house. If that's markers or crayons or colored pencils or pens that are different colors, you pick whatever you have, whatever kinds of art supplies you have close to you, and you can start off by tracing over all of your pencil lines with those art supplies. Now that I have finished step 2 and I have traced over all of my pencil lines with different kinds of art supplies, I'm ready for step 3. I'm ready to start coloring in my artwork. And I might decide to start off by coloring in the small details. So maybe I want to color in the petals of my flowers, and I could color in the heart and the sun and the birds. And you can use the same art supplies as you did in step 2. Like I'm sticking with markers and crayons, just like I used in step 2. Or if you want to switch it up, maybe you did markers for your outlines and then you want to color it in with the crayons, you can do that. I'm going to go ahead and do both. I'm going to use markers and crayons for my coloring in step. Whenever you're finished coloring in, it's gonna take me a while, so I'm gonna pause my video and then I'll come back and I'm gonna show you a trick. If you have crayons, I'm gonna show you a trick for the very last step. All right, now that I'm finished coloring in all of my shapes, I have a quick trick that I want to show you that will make coloring in the white spaces a lot easier. So you could choose to leave the background white if you want your Calavera to have colorful details on a white background. But if you want the background to be different colors, I've got a special trick that you can do if you have crayons or colored pencils. This will also work with colored pencils. So since I press down hard with my crayons to get a really dark color, I can go over all of my details with a crayon, pressing down light. So I can go right on top of my pencil. I can color, it blends it a little bit, but that is okay. It works really well when you go over markers. So like my pencil down here, I colored that in with markers and then I can go on top of it with crayons. When I go on top of the crayons with crayons, I do get a little bit of blending, right? That blue color is kind of blending together with my background. So if that's gonna bother you, if you don't want that effect, then I would go ahead and color around it. But if you like the idea of having some of your colors blend together, this might be a fun technique to try out. So when I go over the marker where I wrote my grandma's name, that part doesn't blend. If I go over the birds and the dots, I do get a little bit of blending. I kind of like the way that it looks when it mixes together, but you get to make a choice about if you like that effect and you want to try it out, or maybe you don't really like that effect and you would rather just color around those details instead of color on top of them. All right. Once you finish coloring in your Calavera, it is finished. And this is a beautiful piece of artwork that you could put on an ofrenda. It's a really wonderful way to remember someone that you love who has passed on. So I hope you enjoyed doing this Dia de los Muertos activity with me, and I hope that it brought back some really wonderful memories for you.